Hello and welcome back to the Cronecast at the Rising Moon. Hey guys, today I have a Crossroads reading for you. What new paths are opening up for you, what new choices are opening up for you, and what challenges might you face on those paths. We have 3 piles and a pick a card, 1 through 3. There's going to be a moment here where you can stop, concentrate, see which one really calls out to you. That is the message that you are most meant to receive. In all likelihood, only 1 pile will be appropriate in this particular reading because it is about the paths that are opening up for you. So pick your pile and I'll see you at the time of your reading. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 1, then this is your reading. I'm putting the number 1 over here as it flips all over the place so that people can easily fast forward to their reading. But as usual, there will be timestamps in the description box down below. Hey, we're putting the housekeeping at the top of these days. Please don't forget the only way to book me is at therisingmoon.com. If you want to book a private reading with me, I have a podcast called Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Please don't forget to look for that as well. And here we go with this particular reading. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and that's all that. You guys hear this over and over again. You know the drill by now. So we have the Dragon's Tarot. Most of the decks that I chose have a fire theme in them because it's all about the actions that we take, which is about the Crossroads energy. Dragon's Tarot, we've got some activation cards. Everybody's going to get a Lantern Oracle as well. I'll use other Oracle cards as the reading reveals the need for them. So I am actually a Crossroads guide. People meet me when they're trying to determine if they're ready to go down a particular fateful path. Our fateful path always contains our purposeful energy, what we're meant to be doing with our time here. So let's get going for this. Going to be using an infinity spread. What is coming up for pile number 1? What choices are they facing? What challenges are they facing? What paths are opening up for them? Let's get going here. What's opening up for pile number 1? Usually I do the, hey, like, subscribe, hit that post bell notification as I'm shuffling. Just felt like doing it differently. Let's get going here. I have the universe, the world is opening up energy, which that's a great energy to have at a crossroads. It means that one area of your life is complete and a new one is beginning to open up. Got a clear notification there. It's also one of the karmic cards. It's also one of the cards that contains a lot of universal energy within it. I like it kind of a lot. It does mean that there's a lot of fateful forces at work in your life when you get one of those big karmic cards. And the world really can be having it all, but it does mean this particular position is going to be the recent past of the situation. It does mean that a lot of things have closed out for you and a lot of new things are opening up. I have the Knight of Cups in the upright, which can be a card of dreams coming true. Now, it can be a little bit overly romanticized sometimes. It can be, you're reminded to keep yourself grounded when you get the Knight of Cups as well, because everything needs to exist in a state of balance. But it's usually something new and emotionally pleasing coming towards you. It can be romance. I don't focus on love in the readings that I do. I focus on personal development and personal growth. Not that love doesn't hold a place in life. It's just that love is one of the easiest things to figure out by the seat of our pants, whereas our life's purpose is one of the more difficult things for a lot of people. It's coming out with the 4 Swords in reverse, which is an interesting energy because that's like more action. Man, if you have been in a period of is anything ever going to happen? Oh my Jesus. It is because you had to resolve and release a karmic cycle in your life. And we all have to do that. It's not a punishment. It can feel like a punishment when it's going on. But the 4 Swords is a lot more happening, a lot more action in your life. A lot more personal happiness is what that's looking like as well. With the Knight of Swords in the upright, which is the swiftest moving energy in the deck. That can be air travel. It can be messages. It is like things going. The swiftest cards in the deck are the 8 of Wands and the Knight of Swords. That's when things are really happening. It's preceded by a card of action as well. If it has felt like I'm going to die of boredom in my own life, I'd like to have anything happen so that I could be more engaged. Hold that thought because it looks like lots and lots is going to be happening. More forward motion. You're being reminded that sometimes you're not super practical with your energy. meaning you have a tendency to overcommit sometimes. Remember, you learned that lesson and what it will do to you, and you need to be a little bit careful. Let's get going with the underlying issues part of the infinity spread. What I keep discovering is that people don't understand how to read an infinity spread. That's cool, don't worry about it. Like sooner or later I'll like have a Patreon or something and I'll be teaching the different spreads. I have the Six of Swords in the upright, which is leaving a difficult situation behind, moving on from the past. This is qualifying my World card, which again, complete cycles. And the thing that I'm really feeling here is that, man, you didn't like the cycle you just went through. It might have lasted for as long as 7 years, because some of them really do. When you're resolving both your karma and your ancestral karma, you can get caught in a long era of trying to resolve. That is coming out with the Hermit in the upright. That's one of the cards for like details. It's a soul searching card. It's the card for the astrological sign Virgo. Do not take this personally, but like if you've had a little bit of a difficult time in love and relationships, it's because you were letting your heart lead instead of striking the balance between the heart and the head. It's just a reminder for those of you who will have things developing in your personal life. With the Six of Wands in the upright, that is success and moving forward. Man, apparently the time of stasis in your life has come to a resounding end. And that comes out with the Page of Swords in the upright as well, which is learning new things. It's research. It can be younger air signs. It can be new contracts as well. We're going to take our 2 qualifiers over here. Hey, pile number 1, so far I'm really loving the energy that is down here. I don't have any big warnings here other than you overcommit sometimes and then you're super tired. And you need to be careful with your energy. Let's go ahead and take your qualifiers, see if they have any warnings. I have 0 warnings for you. Other than to remember, even when you've resolved these past issues, sometimes there's fragment energy. If something has been a part of you since birth, for instance, anxiety or fear, when something challenging rises up, again in that soul-searching head and the heart battle, what you have to remember is that it's not a punishment if there are still remaining aspects of something. It's that you learn the lessons on how to deal with it. So when you are really scheduled, what are you doing? You're taking super good care of yourself. You're making sure you're eating appropriately. You're making sure you're exercising appropriately. Remember, because I have a collective of who almost exclusively healers and teachers and people who are trying to make the world a better place, sometimes they overcommit to doing things for others and they become depleted and they become anxious and they can become unhappy. And you have to maintain that good life-work balance in order for things to keep moving. And will they throw up a roadblock every single time that you start straying from that path? Yes. And is it they? Not exactly. It's your higher self in conjunction with your guides. Coming out with the 3 of Cups in the upright, which is community and gathering and the celebrations and friends. And that's coming up with the 2 of Swords in the upright as well, which is card of choices. You've been a little bit, please do not be insulted, prone to denial in your past. It is one of the biggest aspects that we all have to overcome. If you have been super isolated, this is one of the cards of isolation. The Hermit card is one of the cards of isolation. It is not that you're going to walk your path forever alone. It is that you really had to learn how to treat yourself as if you mattered. It's something that you apparently have struggled with your whole life. And it may, and remember, please understand when you're told you've been struggling with something, it's not a personal judgment against you. What it is a reminder that like it was probably programmed into you by your caretakers. It could be part of an ancestral energy. It's not a criticism, it's a reminder. It's a reminder that you have to treat your personal life, which does not necessarily mean your romantic life, but your personal life with the same standards that you treat your professional life. What I'm always telling people who are trying to get into the healing field is you have to have excellent boundaries. You have to have excellent boundaries to do this because your clients frequently aren't well and so they don't possess them through no fault of their own. So you have to be super comfortable with a great big old NO when it is appropriate. Will there be challenges around that? Yes, particularly since it seems like you've been waiting for a while for things to happen. Try not to be, I want to say uncertain about the pace of things any longer. Everything happened in the way it was meant to. to teach you how to cope, how to heal yourself as well. All right, so this guy wants out in a big bad way. Awakening, ancient knowledge, memories, and connection. You will have greater access to your guides, to your ascended masters now. Not my favorite term, but it is the one that is frequently used in spiritual communities, which means your teachers, the ones who have come before you to try and impart some knowledge. This is one of the cards for knowledge in your own journey, so that you can have essentially the wisdom of those that came before you. And that was part of what resolving these really, like, it kind of looks like challenging karmic ties from the past, ancestral ties, ancestral trauma, ancestral curses in some instances. And you can get really bogged down in the, like, oh my gosh, why am I the water carrier for generations? You volunteered. It doesn't feel that way when it's going on. I'm laughing because, like, I've been through it. It does not feel that way. It's like, am I stupid? Why would I stand up and be like, yeah, pick me, I'll take it all on? Because it comes with benefits. It comes with greater gifts. It comes with greater energies. The Guardians, shielding, defense, and warning. This is something that I really need to talk to you about. If you are in a healing profession, if you've been trying to succeed, particularly in social media, this is a card of social media success and action and things happening. You have to have a protocol that you engage in pretty much daily in order to protect yourself from those who are trying to engage with you. You have to have not just excellent boundaries in what you say when you're interacting with other people, but in what you do. For instance, right now, you can't see it, but I did all kinds of protective stuff before I started here today. I have a candle burning on my altar that is protecting me. And behind me, I have a salt bowl that has different essential oils in it and blessed and empowered salt, as well as an acidic energy to try and make sure that what's ever on my clients here, because when you reach out into something, something can try and reach back, can't get on me. You have to have those protocols around that. And does it get tedious? Sure, a little bit, but, like, you know, we all bathe, we all brush our teeth, we all floss. It's just part of self-maintenance. We all have to eat too. So look at it that way. It does not have to be an hours-long thing. If you have been resolving the energy of the ages, it may have been a very deep and engaged process, and that's part of the reason that not a lot was happening for you, because you had to devote your energy to other things. I do not read any oracle cards in reverse. I have never found them to retain their meaning. Nurture all you love. That's a self-love card. It's also allowing things to take the time that they need. It's also practicing self-compassion, which the reason you had such a slow pace is that, like, sometimes you're just not all that nice to yourself. Be without malice. All right. And then I want one more. Protect the wild and green. This is a grounding energy. Listen, one of the hardest things that you'll have to understand is that your clients will have all kinds of attachments on them. I recently closed down my professional office and will only now see the existing clients for in-person readings. And it was because I got a whole new batch of clients. And of course, I'm very fortunate. I feel very lucky and very blessed. But because of the area that I live in, it's exceptionally affluent. I'm not exceptionally affluent, but a lot of people here are. And they had so many greed attachments on them that it was literally taking hours out of my life every day to get them off. And it's like, okay, well, I just want to stick with people whose energy I already know, because it is harder to deal with the ones from the in-person people. Let's keep going here. And that's something you need to be aware of. That's something that you need to be aware of, is that pay attention to your moods. Pay attention to how you feel after you've been working. More's coming in your personal life. Since I have a collective of people who struggle potentially with codependency, that is something that I urge you to remember this. It is okay to get a reading at the beginning of a relationship, but please don't do the pick of cards on relationships. It keeps you in an ungrounded reality state, and it can actually be very, I don't want to say damaging, but it can be an energy suck. It can be an energy suck. You look like you're free and in the clear here, but you got to be careful with your choices going forward. You're going to have, this is the one warning I'm getting. You are going to have people coming towards you who are attempting to be your friends who are not meant to be. And you're going to have to use discernment and discerning choices as well to be able to see them for who they are and to keep people at an appropriate distance. You can still maintain professional contacts with people without being buddy-buddy with them, you know. Oh, here we go with a wheel card. Wistful expectation. Acknowledge the smoke and mirrors in your life for what they are. We all go through this. It's the ungrounded reality card. Is that like almost everyone that I ever read for when they're on a healing journey, they see a future for themselves in which they're exceptionally important in what they're doing and they're recognized and potentially famous. And that carries with it all sorts of burdens as well and limitations on what you can do because people pleasing becomes a part of it. And it's to recognize that in our wishful expectations is the opportunity to confront ego. The idea that like seeing yourself from a greater perspective and everyone being of equal importance. And that if you really want to do this work, you would do it even if you are never acknowledged. Even if you just have a sustaining income and you're just doing the part that you were meant to do, but pretty much nobody ever recognizes you as being like a star of something. And like that's where the ego death comes in, where it's about pride. And the wishful expectations, I will, like, this is the easiest example that I have. When I first started out on YouTube, I wanted to be one of the bigger readers on YouTube, and I was actually succeeding quite well. But a lot of what started coming with that, I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with like the distance you have to start maintaining from your clients. And in fact, most of the big readers on YouTube don't do personal readings because they have to protect themselves so much. And that is not why I have this particular ability. It is for a more personal, like helping people see into themselves. So I had to remain more accessible. And then again, because love, romantic love, is one of the things that is programmed into us to believe that we want that more than we want almost anything. If I have that, then the rest of my life will fall into place. It's actually the exact opposite. Get the rest of your life in order, and the romantic love that you want and desire at a soul level will come to you. And the reason that people, and particularly people who identify as women, are told to invest so deeply in romantic love is it means that you're always trying to give your power to another partner first before giving it to yourself or to your life's purpose. And it's not bagging on romance. Romance is beautiful. Love is real. It's just that it's not the primary goal. We have flames of desire, let them shine out in radiant light and shun dark's paths. Temptation always comes along with success. Temptation always comes along with success. To compromise your value, to do things for gain. You know, one of the be without malice, that's an attachment energy for envy, for greed, sometimes for vengeance. Particularly when you begin to succeed, those who might have harmed you in the past, as they were also caught up in a karmic wake, it can become very tempting to just, you know, have the revenge is a dish best served cold attitude. Revenge is a dish best crossed off the menu. It drags you into your darker aspect. And listen, our darker energy, our shadow side is not a bad thing. We just need to understand it so it doesn't rule our choices. And that's part of the crossroads energy that we're talking about. Is you're going to be given more and more opportunity to confront all that shadow work that you did so that you know that you're the person that has power over it and it does not have power over you. So very specifically, the crossroads are going to be about your friendships, a potential romantic connection that you're being reminded of. Don't let it be your whole world, because that's where you apparently had a slight difficulty in the past. So many people have. It's part of an ancestral karmic cycle that you have been successful in breaking. An overcommitment issue is going to be something that you need to be aware of your choices around. And then protection, 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 protection. You're always going to have to be doing aura clearing, energy cleansing, clearing your physical space as well in order to remain safe whenever you're in any of the esoteric arts. And if you're watching this and you're like, hey lady, I'm an accountant, that's cool. It's just that you have to remember that if you're drawn to me as a reader, it means that you're trying to make a difference in this world. And even if it's in a very corporate setting, you still have these gifts. You still have the ability to transmute energy. Everybody in my collective is a natural magician. You have the ability to transmute energy, which means that people try to give you some of theirs in order to take some of yours, and you have to maintain your energetic balance. Seduction, passion, and romance await. And the hand of fate. And then we have, what do we have here? Honor and good luck. Pile number 1, how can I improve on this? I cannot. Let us quit while we are ahead. Pile number 1, kind of a quickie there. Your crossroads are so many resolved energies of your life. You will have tests around your friendships. Don't let, potential loneliness from the past dictate the choices that you're making in the here and the now. It's not a judgment of another person to understand that it's like, hey, we're not on the same path. We don't believe the same things. We don't value the same things. And it doesn't mean, because we all serve a particular collective, somebody can be a really good person, but believe the exact opposite of you. And it doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong. They're right for them, you're right for you. They have work to do in that area of life, and you have work to do in your own. The guardians and awakening ascended masters are available to you. You have to maintain some form of meditative practice, and it will look different for everybody. It will look different for everybody. I am going to be doing a podcast on the different forms of meditation to try and help people start developing a practice. But you have to be willing to do the work in order to get the benefit. And it does not need to sit down in a lotus position or even a seated position and count your breaths. There's open-eyed meditation that is a form of fixed point meditation, and that can serve as well, but you have to be willing to do it. For me, half the time, I have to walk. I'm a walking fiend. Like sometimes some days I'll walk for 2 hours a day, and on the days where I'm lifting weights, I walk for 1 hour. Sometimes I'm going up and down the stairs for 20 minutes at a time to break a sweat to purge that energy. It's that's part of my process, because it's almost a punishment to me to try and make me sit still. What you can't see is off camera, I am on my feet right here. I like to stand when I am reading. I can't do it for my online readings, and it doesn't affect the quality of my reading. It's just that it's easier for me to let the energy go if I'm on my feet. There we go, 1 and 2 and 3. Let's get some fortune cards and we're getting out of here, guys. Pile number 1. I kind of just want to say congratulations for all of the stuff that you've resolved. For some of you, it's going to have been such a long path. But you did great work. Achievement. Remember, I do not read these paragraphs below because I have not found them to have validity. I'm holding it up here for a moment. You can if you wish. Made your life change. We're going to have one more and we're getting out of here. Ooh, difficult times. This can be a crossroads energy. That's the world overall, and then care required. There is something coming in the greater world. Remember all of that energy you got around protection and protecting yourself, and that you will get the best possible outcomes in the circumstances available to the greater world. But you do have to call for your protection. You can invoke permanent protection, but it's maintenance stuff. You have to. It's like you're trying to always inoculate yourself against other people's energy. It's a little weird, but you got to do it, and it does work. Pile number 1, that was your reading. If you want to book me for a private reading for more specifics, you can do that at therisingmoon.com. The only way to book me. Don't forget my podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Take care, be well, choose wisely. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 2, this is your reading. I'm putting the number 2 over there so that people can easily fast forward to their reading, but there will be timestamps in the description box down below as always. Radiant Soul bringing you your predictive spread. Everybody's going to get an activation card and a lantern card and other oracle cards as the reading reveals the need for it. Hey guys, putting housekeeping at the top of this. Don't forget, you want to book me for a private reading. That's at therisingmoon.com. Link in the description box down below. It's the only way to book me. Don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button and the post bell notification if you want to every time I post a video. All right, so this is the Crossroads reading. What new paths are opening up for you? What challenges might you face on that? Pile number 1 it was one of the most positive readings I think I've ever done, so that was delightful to see. Let's see what's coming up for pile number 2. What crossroads are they facing? What new choices? What new paths? What challenges might be on them? Okay, 4 swords in the upright, and this is going to be an infinity spread. So that's the recent past, which is like Dullsville. Not a lot happening. A lot of time to heal. It's one of the healing cards. It's one of being at rest. 1, 2, 3. I have a feeling my collective has felt like the world stalled on them. In all likelihood, you are resolving your karmic burdens, both for your generational and ancestral line, as well as your own. And it's tough work, man. If you're one of the souls that volunteered to do that, remember, you have a lot of courage. Even if you have anxiety issues, even if you have fear issues, remember, if you're doing something despite being afraid, that is exactly what bravery is. If you don't feel any fear or any anxiousness or any trepidation going into something, it's simply not brave when you do it. It's just what you're doing, you know? All right, I have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, which is a relaxed energy. Man, were they ever trying to teach you how to go with the flow? And to do that, they stop the flow. Ooh. And that comes out with the Three of Swords in reverse, which is card of being healed. All readers have a different relationship to their cards. For me, the Three of Swords in reverse is the end of heartbreak and the end of pain, the Fool and the upright, which is brand new beginnings, moving on, leaving the past behind, exciting new adventures. It's the card of adventure and of new beginnings. It's also the card of a leap of faith. It's also the card of simply of faith. Love all this. You're healed. You had to learn how to not do. Listen, this is not an insult. It's just an observation. Whenever I'm saying something to keep in mind, listen, in order to be in a healed state, we have to be willing to look at ourselves honestly. That's the ego death, the greater perspective energy. You would bury yourself in doing in order to get away from feeling. And so if it has been a case of like, are you ever going to let anything happen in my life? You had to be trapped with yourself in order to confront some things. And it's not because you're a runner exactly, but it's because you had developed, your way of coping was to exhaust energy rather than to confront it, okay? With the Three of Pentacles in reverse, which is card of, ooh, we're going to turn that into the upright, which is very interesting because it fell down and righted itself. So we're going to take that as a sign. That's the spirit of working with others. You had to learn how to prioritize self in a way that you were comfortable doing. It's like you had a really hard time with that balance. It was either all I can see is my own pain, energy, difficulty, and burdens, or all I can do is give to others. Like you had a lot of balance problems. And this period of like, it's just, they were trying to get you to learn how to relax into the energetic flow of the universe. That's coming out with the Hanged One, which is a new perspective. That's the Hanged Man. It's card of being in stasis. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's like, oh my God, you poor soul. Yeah. So remember, snakes are also about new beginnings. They shed the past, but this is very much a shadow side energy. You had to learn healthier manners. It's the Three of Swords in reverse, doing something in a more healthful fashion with how to deal with your darker aspects, because the way that you had learned how to burn them off was to do too much. Coming out with the Nine of Swords in reverse, which is putting something to rest, fears being put to rest, sleeping easily, resting more. I almost want to say more effectively, where like you get the benefit of downtime rather than feeling like you've been imprisoned. And that's coming out with the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, which is an anxiety card. Listen, the Fool trusts. You are always apparently going to struggle with your ability to trust that everything's going to be all right. We're putting our two qualifiers over there. We'll take a look at them in a moment. Remember, this is one future, this is one reading, this is your underlying issues energy. All of these are informed by that, and these are your outcome cards. That's how an infinity card spread works. It's really hard to read if you're not used to it, so like you start practicing. If you want to be able to use it. It's one of the best personal development spreads that there are, and I am a personal growth reader. I do predictive tarot, but I try and help people resolve their stuff. You probably have an anxiety disorder. It is something that it'll be with you. It'll simply be with you, and you need to, if you haven't done this yet, you're being reminded that the challenges that you face you will always have a tendency towards anxiety. That does not mean that you're a fearful person. Here's how I try to explain it to people, because I have like so many people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which results from abusive childhoods, particularly emotionally abusive ones, which can be harder to, like they can be easier to overlook, meaning that it was your norm, so you didn't even question it. If you did not feel safe from the day you were born, anxiety results. You live in a fearful or a constantly apprehensive state. And the thing that you're being warned on your, because more is going to be happening, more opportunities in work, and like learning how to make sure that you tend to that side of yourself well. Look up foods on the, remember, whenever I recommend any form of food or exercise, you gotta check with the doctor first, because not everybody's in the same state of health. I'm like a ridiculously robust person, so I get to like experiment a lot. But look up foods on the anti-anxiety list. Everything that is rich in magnesium can help. Potassium, which is where you need to check with a doctor, because people with some heart-related issues, you might have some damage to your heart. Also need to be careful. So make sure that increasing the foods that you're taking in, it's always going to be best done through nutrition versus supplements. But if you're on a limited diet, supplements can help. Look up the foods that help you the most with basically releasing the stressors in your life. Water is always going to be very, 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 very important to maintaining an energetic balance. More opportunities coming to you. They will slow everything down again if you're not choosing well. And that's the crossroads energy that you need to be aware of. I'm sorry. Wow, that was a Freudian one. There's a lot of apprehension on this card. There's a lot of apprehension on this card. You're never being punished. They just never wanted you to burn your candle down to the point where you couldn't even enjoy your life, which, with no offense meant, perfectly capable of doing. You're perfectly capable of doing, because that's how you learned to earn your worth in your own eyes. And please remember, success as it is defined in this society is not a good construct. It is that whole hustle culture thing. People are desperately unhappy from it. You are not your job. You are not what other people think of your success level. You will know if your life is successful by how you feel in an internal capacity. And learning to care for that appropriately, whether it's through diet and exercise or meditation, is one of the things they've been trying to teach you. I have Death card in the upright, which is new beginnings. This is one of the cards for birthdays. It's a card for Scorpios as well. Look at how beautifully positive, and there's even the kind of the suggestion of a butterfly in that. It's a spiritual awakening card on this one as well. Death is new beginnings with the Chariot, which is success and being pulled in two different directions and being careful with your choices. This is the one you gotta hear, because things are gonna start happening. If you do not choose wisely, they're gonna put you back. They're gonna put you back, and then nothing can happen until you learn this lesson. And as resentful as we can all get about that, it is because they're trying to teach you how to enjoy your life versus, here's what happens to people with this anxious energy. They're always anticipating the next thing. I want to get this over with. If I get this over with, I can finally enjoy my life. If this is out of my path, I can finally enjoy my life. Until you change that mindset, enjoying your life will be challenging. Because there's always going to be something hanging out there. Particularly when you're successful, there's always something that you need to complete. There's always something that you're needing to put your energy into that you can't get done. What I've got from this pile is that you don't let yourself fully relax until your chore list is complete. And to be able to succeed, you're going to have to just coexist with your chore list, which will always have stuff on it. Better time management skills around, like, well, what's the most self-loving way I could manage this? Because it looks like in the past, you were absolutely willing to, I will kill myself working 36 hours over the next 4 days so that I can have 2 days off. And instead they're saying, well, look at your checklist. Does this really need to be done within that period? Does that? Are you maybe trying to ward off anxiety by accomplishing and completing things? Because that's the thing that is exacerbating your anxiety. A lot of the time what happens with anxiety is people develop poor coping skills with it, not knowing that the real gift is learning how to trust and believe in yourself, and that is part of self-love. And knowing that we have a false sense of urgency on completion so often. It's like, you know what? If something doesn't get completed, usually it's not the end of the world. There are very few things where it's a life and death sort of thing. Let's get your activation cards here. What else do we have for pile number 2? What's coming up on their crossroads energy? I need you to hear me on that challenging thing. They will slow everything all the way down all over again if you try to do too much to your own detriment. We're closing the door here because the never-ending beeping of the garbage collection has begun. All my windows are closed, but we have a very, very, very large, long driveway in this complex, and it will beep for a solid 5 minutes because there's the trash truck and then there's the recycling truck. Let's get back to your reading. All right, we have wisdom in reverse, which is psychic intuition and truth. I never read oracle cards in reverse. I have never found them to retain their meaning at all. I like this. Please remember that your psychic abilities, which by the way appear to be leveling up, they do, are enhanced when you're handling your anxiety appropriately. I think you likely had to choose an ending recently, and it may have been very challenging for you. And by the way, if you suffered from a lot of triggers in that, it was trying to teach you how to work with them rather than to fear them. Triggers are incredibly common in trauma survivors, and it's a horrible feeling of a loss of control. Once you learn how to recognize the portents of the future, like this could be triggering, this has historically been difficult for me, I better eat really well, I better make sure I'm taking plenty of time off, I better make sure that I'm resting appropriately. It's that kind of thing, is the idea that you have a maintenance program around what I believe is the result of likely trauma, is that you have a trauma-induced anxiety disorder, which is very, very common. You've been learning about how to take care of it. We have awakening. Hey, group number 1 got this one as well, and I really break them up in between piles. Ancient knowledge, memories, and connection. This will be coming out right before, like I'm putting this out, I think, at the end of September. It is actually the end of September, so I'm going to be putting it out the same day that I get it done, if possible. Which I get very limited on how many pick a cards I'm allowed to do because I have that workaholics thing that they're always trying to guard against. I will also have a podcast on this. Halloween and Dia de los Muertos, All Saints Day. Try to make sure you're doing offerings monthly in some form. It doesn't have to be on an altar. If you don't have an altar, that's cool. You can use your kitchen table, your kitchen counter. The space does not have to be, not everybody has a place they can dedicate to this. Make sure you're doing ancestor offerings. Even if you have a difficult family history, please remember the part of your ancestors that you're trying to interact with is like the best that they could achieve, the best that they were. So it's the gifts that they gave you, because even if you come from difficult energies in the past, everything you like about yourself came from them as well. Because they're trying to help you like open up to psychic abilities and psychic gifts that are part of ancestral magic. Please try to do offerings around that. Please try to do offerings around that, which, you know, usually it's just something nice to eat or drink. Like frequently, if it's something that you're also eating, that's awesome. And you just light a candle with it. You declare what it is. You light a candle with it. Here, I've made you a cake. I'm serving it with some, dark coffee. I just want to thank you for all that you went through. I know that you didn't have the same tools available to you that I have. I recognize that now. Once you're healed, you stop blaming people for their own damage, which and sometimes is so deeply damaging to those that come after them that it can be really hard to let go of. When you're healed, you let go of it and you recognize these were just people who had a lot of challenges. Transitions. You have all of the inner resources you need to cross whatever bridges arise on your path. But you need to be reminded that that's the case. That there is never a situation where you're supposed to okay, well, I'm not going to have time to ground and center. I'm not going to have time to clear. I'm not going to have, even if you're lying in bed, listening to a balancing recording on sleep headphones, that's what you do then. That's how you adjust for I do not have the time. Particularly if you're traveling or something to meet obligations, is you have a process that can travel with you. It doesn't always have to be the same thing. Presence of absence. Hold what is absence in the present of your love. So listen, that's a little bit about recognizing the riches of the past. Even if there was a lot to get over, even if you were badly traumatized, even if you were badly abused, there was still something that counterbalanced it, whether it was a love of fiction or whether it was a love of cooking, or it didn't exist in a vacuum, meaning that it's all interrelated, that you stop needing to only pay attention to the good part in order to kind of close the door on the trauma. You recognize that it was all interrelated. And so even if something's gone, you can recognize the worth that it brought to you. And this is particularly prevalent for people who have overcome traumatic relationships. There are still things that it taught you about yourself that are worth teaching. Sometimes in your courage to be able to leave behind those who weren't treating you properly. Let's get your Soul Helpers card. You are unique. Be brave, a little crazy, but be yourself. Everyone has their own unique challenges, and if you have always been different, it's because you're meant to be different. And does that mean that you don't like really have a soulmate, you don't really have a partner? Listen, if that's super important to you, then it's going to be part of your path. But it's not super important to everybody. Like some people are like, yeah, no, really as time went on, I really started investing in my own journey. And if love's a part of it, that's awesome. And if it's not, I'd rather be by myself doing my own happy thing. The time for romance has come. But I should probably take that back. Hey, listen, I've been getting a lot of that. That like there are new and pleasing offers and potentially romances coming towards people in my collective. I have a lot of people who had to heal from generational trauma that led to poor choices in that area and traumatic ones that we're trying to teach you. And then a wonderful surprise is coming just came up when I was going to lift it up again to show you, and it's like, well, the next one is a wonderful surprise is coming. Please listen to me on this because it's nothing against any of the readers on YouTube who are doing love readings. But if you're in my collective, you have had trouble overcoming traumatic backstories and traumatic relationships. And by the way, if that doesn't describe you, hey, listen, no judgment whatsoever. I'm not the reader for you. Everybody has a different collective. You're welcome to watch, but the messages may not apply to you. As new things begin, get a personal reading. Please don't do the pick of cards. They contain ungrounded realities. That's what this wishful expectations, that was in the other group, can contain. It can contain energies of ungrounded realities. You can get one reading to make sure you can trust somebody, but don't try to have a relationship through your cards and figure out where it's going before it even began. Because I've seen people in relationship readings wanting to reject a relationship entirely because it's not going to lead to marriage and being together forever. And it's like, but you could have wonderful experiences. You go on great vacations. You have wonderful sex. You could have incredible conversations and then simply outgrow each other and go happily on your way. And that would be a really important part of your life, even if it only lasts for 3 years. That's like 1,000 days out of your life. Isn't 1,000 days of happiness worth the idea of like, and then we kind of figured out that we didn't have the long distance capacity. We over-invest in the idea of permanence as the measure of worth. We are only guaranteed one day at a time and everything could change tomorrow. So that's why even if you're like, yeah, you're not going to be together forever, but there's something that's really valuable there, have the relationship to see where it leads, not to achieve an end goal of permanence. Because the idea of permanence as being the thing we're trying to achieve keeps people locked into dysfunction so much, because they won't leave something behind because they're so invested in, I want my person. I want this to be forever. And even as things change, because things do, they will cling to a relationship because they want it to be permanent so much when it was only never meant to be a karmic partner that taught you something sometimes about joy. So anyway, that's the end of that, but apparently new things opening up in that capacity as well. One reading from a reader you trust. Please skip the pick of cards, because what will happen if you go backwards into bad habits that tweak out your fears? It tweaks out your fears. And it tweaks out compulsivity. Because when you don't get an answer you want, frequently you'll keep going till you get one. Or if you get one, then you want the reassurance of that was the right answer, right? And it doesn't do good things for people with a form of compulsion, OCD, that is based in trauma. And it's, again, nothing against the great readers on YouTube. It's just everybody has different vulnerabilities. If you're in my collective, that's one of yours. Get a personal reading. Don't do the pick of cards on romance, okay? All right, we have rejuvenating rain, clear the past, heal the present. Everything that happened was purposeful. Everything that happened was purposeful, even if nothing happening was going on. Miracles, expect the wondrous to emerge. So group number 2, beautiful, beautiful energy on new things happening. Learning to appreciate the past has been apparently a big challenge for you, because once you get your butt kicked, because nobody gets that 3 of Swords in reverse unless they've had it in the upright. And heartbreak, it's altering. Like there's a stage in healing of heartbreak where you're like, well, I'm just dead. I'll never be the same person again. My ability to connect to others has simply vanished. It's not. It just had to be honed into something that was good for you. And we are meant to change and grow and evolve. I've never really liked the caterpillar has to die so that the butterfly can be born, because it's too violent of an image. No part of you dies. It still informs the person you become. You're never a caterpillar. You're always trying to be basically the dragon of your own life, where you grow and grow in your power. What else do we have here? The only warning around that is, like, please remember, they will put on the brakes again if you start doing too much and working to your own detriment. It's never going to go away. When you have a disorder, please don't think of it as an affliction. It's just the result of some energy that you were involved with, and you were trying to learn a good process around caring for it. It's genuinely, this is a hard one because it feels like a judgment. I'm begging you to understand, there are people who have just such challenging lives in this world. If that doesn't describe you, but it's mostly your personal happiness or your emotional well-being, you're actually a little bit lucky in this great big world. We hold ourselves up to but I'm not a billionaire. I don't get to go to Saint-Tropez every time I turn around. I don't have absolutely everything that I want. The majority of this world suffers in poverty. And if that is not described, and I mean not clean, no clean drinking water, in unstable like areas where war is very likely, please remember that, like, those people count too. They have all the same feelings that you do. It's not a judgment. Our circumstances aren't a judgment. It's just our circumstances. Everyone will have their burdens. Everyone will have the things that they need to work with. And for people in my collective, you might be dealing with emotionally based disorders that you will have to learn how to care for and take care of. And again, it's simply not a judgment. It's a reminder of, this is the challenge that you volunteered to take on to carry throughout the course of your life. And it can be difficult, but it's doable. Everything's doable if you just keep going and keep trying. Mountain, know that you are protected as you face challenges, but remain cautious. That is a card of proceeding with the appropriate, if you've worked out a method to deal with your stuff, you got to carry it with you. You don't get to be done. I will see that in clients sometimes. I'll have them on this protocol where they're doing attachment removals, they're doing balancings, and they're doing meditations. And then when they feel better, they stop because they think, I'm fixed. It's a maintenance program. You have to have some version of it. Angel, your angels are guiding and protecting you on your spiritual journey. What's next on that? Fool, have the courage to embrace change, take risks, be adventurous. We're going to close this out here, but what I keep finding is that, like, people with anxiety issues frequently want to arrive at everything's settled. I get to put down roots and be in my routine. Your routines were not your friends. Be open to new things, and the plans that you make for the future, have them be open to things changing in a big and beautiful way. It doesn't mean you're not getting what you want. Maybe you're getting more than what you want. That maybe you buy the house of your dreams, but 3 years later, the biggest opportunity ever comes and you have to leave that behind. Enjoy things while they are present. Don't worry about permanence so much, and that will help you with the anxiety that you have been experiencing. Grim number 2, that was your reading. If you want to book me for a private reading, there is a link to my website in the description box down below. Please don't forget to subscribe. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And don't forget to look for Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. That's my podcast. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 3, this is your reading. We're putting the number 3 over there so that people can easily fast forward to their reading. Timestamps in the description box down below, as always. Crystal Tarot bringing your predictive spread. We've got some activation cards that will be included and a lantern oracle. And then other oracle cards will be included as the reading reveals the need for them. Hey guys, putting the housekeeping at the top of this. You want to book me for a private reading at therisingmoon.com. There's a link in my description box down below. Only way to book me. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button if you would please. You want to know every time I post a video. Hit that post bell notification. And then my podcast is Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica, which I put the video versions up on my YouTube channel all the time. Lovers in the upright. So what are we doing here today? It's the Crossroads energy. It is what challenges will you face, what new opportunities are opening up. Incredibly positive readings so far, loving it so far. Lovers in the upright is a card of making good choices as well and being whole and integrated within. For me, this is not one of the relationship cards. Everybody has a different relationship to their cards, and if you're a reader, don't try and superimpose your meaning on it because it just kind of doesn't work that way. If you're not the person drawing the cards, the flow isn't going through you. The Lovers is the Gemini card as well, which is making peace with our inner duality. The dichotomy that exists within all of us, learning how to live in balance between our masculine and our feminine energies because we all contain them. Let's keep going here. 1 and 2 and 3. This is an infinity spread. I always use an infinity spread on these readings. Let's see, this is the past in the energy. 5 and Wands in the upright, which is change. It can be competition. I find that for movement a lot. Again, 5 are the energy of change, and so all the 5s are. And for me, it's about things changing and things being stirred up. I'll get this for the need to exercise sometimes, which is one of the best ways that I have of managing my energy. With the Knight of Swords in the upright, which is movement and swiftness and travel. It can be air travel. It is the swiftest moving energy in the deck. It is certainty. It is drive. It can be ambition. It's a really good card. 2 Pentacles in the upright, remaining in a balanced state. Everything finally dropping into place, the missing piece energy. So making all ends meet energy as well. Hasn't been a lot of financial energy in this one. I wasn't looking for it, but it does look like everything is coming out in an energetic balance there. And that if you're worried about money right now, just try to get through any difficulties. Learning how to cope with difficulties is one of the things that heals us. But you've got some changes coming up in that area as well. Do not forget that you need to balance. You need to have a balancing protocol, whether it is connecting and shielding, whether it is listening to balancing meditations, whether it's taking a walk to start, because cardio can work for that for you. Activity will help you in that area in maintaining an energetic balance. You may have a genetic predisposition or a traumatic predisposition towards like low moods and depression when you get this particular card combination. The choices around that will be okay. 8 of Wands in reverse, which is a blocked journey and delays. Everybody got the same card combination in the past where it's like nothing's been happening, as you were essentially being forced into coping and dealing and learning with how to get the best outcomes for yourself. And it can kind of suck. Sometimes we make our path even harder because it takes us a while to learn our lessons. With the Chariot in reverse, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because, oh my God, my poor collective. That is something being brought to an end. It's also a card of being pulled in 2 different directions. Man, you're getting some like, make the healthy choices, even if it doesn't like feather your nest or increase your bank account. Remember, money's useless if you're breaking yourself for it because you'll be miserable. And so that's why if they slowed things all the way down, which everybody got that energy, that was why, is you have to learn how to prioritize you, not what you can buy, but how you feel. Justice in the upright, that is the divine timing card and everything coming out in a balanced state. With the King of Wands in the upright, which is all kinds of stuff happening. This collective has got an energy around them of things changing, but that you need to be very cognizant of your choices to learn how to coexist with the shadow aspects that you've been likely healing for a while. If that doesn't describe you, it's possible this reading isn't for you, and there are great readers all over YouTube. But I do self-empowerment and self-development and spiritual growth reading for the most part. Putting our 2 clarifiers over there. Let's talk about these a little bit more. Something that felt unfair in the past, you'll be able to see the value of. And I think it's the pace of your journey. When we aren't getting what we want, we can just be really frustrated with the why is nothing happening of it all. This is the underlying issues around this can be a card of like, I want to say like struggle, like because there's all this like taking swipes at each other. Wow, in this one, there actually are fighting lions there as well. We sometimes resist. That can be a resistance energy if we don't get the message that we want, we can resist it, and it will remain the message whether or not we're resisting it. And sometimes we make things take a little bit more time because we're resisting, but sometimes there's simply a lot to be cleared from the path. This is a very open energy. The King of Wands is the king of manifestation here. It doesn't always contain the lion, but the lion is about courage and about like compassion for self as well. Listen, balancing brings you a greater sense of emotional health, even if you don't understand that that's what it's doing. And balancing can be eating healthy meals and drinking plenty of water, getting plenty of rest, but some energetic management usually goes into it as well, which can be, you know, positive playlists. There's some CBT involved, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is essentially programming your responses. You can get a little carried away with it, and it's about trying to fix your emotions, but it's about learning how to work with your emotions so you get the best outcomes. Knight of Cups in the upright with the Strength card in the upright as well. For some people, it's possible you're about to have a new romantic relationship. It doesn't have to be for everybody. My sense is on this pile that like there's no urgency around that for you currently. That you're like, well, we'll see what develops from there. Everything looks good here. Like literally everything looks good. It's like everything you lost is actually going to be, the balance is going to be restored into your life in a way that it hasn't been. It really must have felt like not 2 steps forwards, 1 step back, but 2 steps forward, then 2 step back, 2 step forwards, 2 step back. Like you always ended up in the same position. That part's ending. It really did serve a purpose, and it was so that you could learn how to cope with your emotional world a little bit better. Learning how to coexist with your emotions, the whole, what I'm always saying, responding, not reacting is the goal. And you get to that point, you get to the responding, because it's not responding to another, it's responding to self. That when you're angry, you ask yourself, like, hey, what am I actually afraid of? Why am I angry? What's fueling this? What do I need to do to take care of myself so that I get the best outcome I possibly can? All right, I'm going to try and clear a notification that might turn this off. Sometimes it does. No, yay, it stayed on. This is going to be a hard one to say, so if you're wondering why I'm hesitating. You don't like that part of you. Like, you actively don't like parts of yourself. And remember, it's just a part of you. You're not trying to fix it, you're trying to take care of it. I said this to a client, and I'm going to say it within this reading. What you're really learning how to do with your shadow side is to take care of it like it's a rescue dog. Like you get that this particular animal has like, you know, insecurities or potentially like food insecurity or anger issues that you have to manage the environment around them to give them the best experience possible. Except it's not a rescue dog, it's you. It's the part of you that was formed in trauma, and it's not your enemy. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And shame will always hold back our process. You're not broken. It's just the part of you. And here's the part that you need to understand. Every single person you ever meet has that part of themselves. Some have had fewer challenges to it, but everybody has a side that they're not showing someone. Everybody is struggling within sometimes. And if you have these big monumental struggles, it's just because you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of power. Don't judge yourself the way you do sometimes. You can be a little judgmental around, particularly, this is what I run into with trauma survivors with CPTSD or PTSD all the time, is they want it to be fixed. When's it going to be healed? When's it going to be over? It's part of you because it was formed at a foundational age. And it is not a fault, a weakness, or a handicap. It's just a part of you. And learning how to care for it in the way that will make it feel secure and happy, because it has this very emotional response, not logical thinking thing behind it. And the only way to really coexist with it is to logically understand it and then emotionally care for it. And it is one of the things that can be manageable, but will always be present. And recognition of stressors. If you're heading into a stressful period, maybe you want to schedule less work, as a for instance, if you're going to be moving, if you're going to be like, trying to write things for a class or something. You have to take care of your emotional world in a way that doesn't treat it with resentment. Because don't resent the parts of you that are just a part of you. It's just a counterbalancing energy. We have magical realms, belief, confidence, and co-creative power. Everybody's getting just the best cards around new things opening up for them. More ability to manifest. This is one of the manifesting energies of the deck. Remember, the kings make things manifest in the tarot. This is where I always say the part where, gender is meaningless in tarot. It really is, because we all contain masculine and feminine energies. Every now and then it's representing a figure, but that's usually only in relationship readings. There is something hinting at a relationship and like being in a healed enough state to overcome with compassion, because that's what the strength card is about, overcoming with compassion, the untamed part of yourself, or the part of yourself that you have had historic difficulties in keeping in check. Repressing it never works. Coexisting with it and treating it with kindness and love always does. And not leaning into it so far that I'm going to share something I heard on TikTok, which is somebody saying that they never speak negatively to themselves, that they are always like, you're the best, you're doing great. Listen, that holds a place, because self-talk is very, very important. But every now and then we got to call ourselves out on not being reasonable. I'm speaking very specifically of me, and I always use myself as an example because nobody else gets in trouble when I do that. But I will admit that I am a stubborn little cuss sometimes, and every now and then I'll be stewing in something and realizing you're not actually being very fair here. It's okay, valid point. You can call attention to the ways in which you're getting in your own way without being mean to yourself, without being critical or condemning. You can simply be accepting of, listen, I am a Taurus and it is not apparent in almost any, I'm a skinny little thing that loves to exercise and barely likes to eat. And and it's not to say that most Tauruses are gigantic, but there is a thing about food and loving to be in bed and all kinds of stuff around Tauruses. But I do have some things that are typical in the Taurus temper and the Taurus stubbornness. And my inability sometimes to forgive. This is a card of forgiveness. It can be difficult sometimes to forgive self even more than forgiving others. But forgiving the parts of yourself that have held you back sometimes is the easiest way to learn how to coexist with them and manage them to the best outcomes. And for me, that does mean kindly calling myself out like I'm a little kid that I'm trying to take charge of, that listen, we all need positive reinforcement. We all need loving self-talk. But every now and then, sometimes you have to be I'm not being my best self here, or I need to make a better choice. And it doesn't involve self-loathing, it's just self-recognition. And that's the Justice card energy. What have we got here? I don't read any oracle cards in reverse. They never hold the meaning. Manifestation, yeah, baby. Prosperity, fortune, and pure intention. You got a lot of stuff coming to you. I need you to hear this. Every single pile has gotten this. Things are going to start happening in a way that they have not. It has driven you nigh on insane trying to deal with the pace of things that doesn't fit the way I assuage that beast within is to go and do sometimes. If you start choosing in a way that is detrimental to your health, they will put the brakes on again. It's not a punishment. It's not a punishment. They want you to have a happy and fully integrated experience within this lifetime. And they is actually your higher self working with your guides. What happens at the beginning of a healing journey is people are furious with their guides sometimes because do you have any idea what they've done to you? They never did anything. They were working with your choices. Sometimes they will block you on things because it's well, it's time. She's going to miss her life's purpose. They're going to miss their life purpose. He's going to miss their life's purpose. If we don't get down to I'm going to have to throw up some roadblocks here because you agreed to this before you ever got here. They're always working in conjunction with our highest self. And usually the pace of things is determined by our highest self, which it's just you. Don't resent it. Don't be like, I cannot stand that so-and-so. Don't I have any free will? You do. Sometimes there is something that your unique divine soul wishes to accomplish in a way that means that your free will may be subverted from your standpoint of ego, which is what we're really dealing with. Ego's not bad, it's a part of you that you need to understand to be able to coexist with. Sometimes it will get in the way of the ego-based choices that we make that aren't about vanity and aren't about pride, but are about trying to ineffectively manage the shadow side. And so sometimes a red box will be put in the way. And you just need to remember that going forward. Be careful with your choices around what you're doing to make sure that you stay on a healthy path, particularly in romance, but also in work, because I have a workaholics collective as well. It's the only warning you're getting here. Everybody got like, what are their warnings? Your warnings are, you got to keep doing your work. You got to have your self-maintenance program. Lots more success is coming to you. More opportunities to connect with people. If that doesn't sound good to you, you're not as healed as you need to be yet, but you'll get there. Just keep trying. What do we got here? We have the High Priestess of Spirit, which is cold. That's the Queen of Swords energy, quite frankly. Honest to goodness, it's really just the energy of reasoning things out as well and using logic. One of the tools that I give my clients is to speak into voice memo when they're upset and then listen to it, because it helps them acknowledge their feelings. And sometimes it gives you perspective. Like every now and then, I can completely cop to the fact that it's like I've lost perspective here about how big or small this thing is. And yeah, I'm most likely to catch it because I've been listening to the recordings. Forbidden. And then I have deceit. Okay. With fulfillment. All right, so what's the forbidden and deceit about? This is actually usually about blocking any forms of, I want to say demonic attachment or spirit attachment. Don't forget to invoke protection, please. Whatever that form that takes for you. For me, it's Psalm 91 with the pronouns changed to what is appropriate for me. But I also play healing frequencies for protection. You can do invocations of your guardians, your guides, your ancestors. You can call out your guides, your guardians, your ancestors, your angels, or the protectors, the angels, the spirits of air. Or another one, please don't forget to invoke protection. When you're powerful, something's always trying to come for you. It's not a personal judgment. It's not that you're like, nothing good ever happens for me. Why was I cursed with all this? The more power you have, the more something wants to get it, And you have to take the protective steps around that. So make sure you do that. It can be spiritual showers. Like in between piles here, I go through and I clear the whole room. How to make a clearing spray without Palo Santo or sage recipe that I have up as the video that most people see at the top of my channel. That gives you the method for how to clear a room. Make sure you're clearing frequently. If you've been struggling with spirit attachments that are always attracted to, and I'll be doing a spirit attachment podcast as well, they're always attracted to people with more power. And you just have to get really good at being like, yeah, I have to coexist with this. It's like washing the vegetables to make sure that all of the contaminants are off them. That's how you need to approach clearing, is that you're clearing your energy cleansing regularly. The more power you have, the more something tries to come for you. And you have to take steps to keep yourself in a balanced state. But the crossroads energy is, and this is the crossroads, your success is developing and coming to you. And you need to be very aware of not making self-punishing or self-ignoring choices which will lead to emotional repression, which leads to you being triggered. That's the piece of the puzzle you've been missing all along, is that when you want to get something done, woe betide the thing that gets in your way, and you keep trying to push through and push through and push through, because you have your self-worth sometimes tied up too much in achievement. Your self-worth is in being self-loving. And sometimes that means achieving less because you got too much on your plate and you're trying to take care of yourself. Remember that part, because that's the crossroads energy. Every time you choose to be self-maintaining and to take things at a pace that is good for you, rather than will achieve in a way that other people will deem successful, True success lies in having a healthy and happy life. A healthy bank account, which apparently is being promised at long last, is coming to you as well. But you're being told that the challenges that you will face is that you will have more opportunities that are good for you as you succeed. And you're going to have to be discerning about taking things at the pace that is good for you versus good for the facade of success that the society has a tendency to value. Okay? Healing old wounds. What else we got here? Twin flame. All right. Heartbreak. Interesting. Divine masculine. Twin flames are often just people made from the same energy that we are. And then we have patience. Okay, one more time. Runner. This came out of nowhere for me. Inner strength. Hey, last time I did a reading, pile number 3 also got a be careful, twin flames, maybe not your best choice. If somebody has not been treating you properly, then don't hold space for them because it just holds you back. It's possible that someone's done their work. If you do your work and someone is truly a twin flame, then they're healing as well because you mirror each other. Let's get some more cards on that. I had wanted to use this one. I'm less surprised than I was last time. Last time that happened, I was like, good God, really? Out of nowhere? It's part of what pile number 3 is apparently resolving is their relationship to the idea of twin flames and whether or not there's shadow side connections. Some are, some aren't. When you heal your trauma, because we got the healing old wounds here. Yeah. Divine masculine, patience, runner, inner strength. Have patience with yourself. Don't worry about this part. Please don't worry about this part. You will only accept the relationships that are truly good for you. If somebody's coming on back and they have not made fundamental and profound changes that you are patiently allowing to reveal themselves, don't jump in with both feet. You stick a toe in the water and you keep it there for at least a month before you proceed. Overinvestment too soon is if somebody has had difficulties with intimacy or being close to someone in the past, even if they show the heck back up and being like, I've been in therapy, I've done all this work, it's like, well, let's wait and see. Let's see how this develops. Don't be like, at long last, let's start planning the wedding. You know, take it slowly because you're a new version of you and they would be a new version of them as well. That is the only energy I got around that. So let's see, 1 and 2. What else do we have for pile number 3 as we're closing this guy out? Be careful with your choices. Be careful with your choices. We can always go backwards in a journey. If we can't accept poor treatment in the name of love and be healthy. Unconditional love is a beautiful concept, but it's a spiritual concept. You can love somebody and recognize you can't be directly in my life because you're not good for me and you don't treat me right. The Sphinx, choose your words carefully. The Caduceus, I never know how it's pronounced. One of those words that I learned how I came in contact first through reading, and so Lord knows how it's pronounced. You will receive news from afar, and then the gate. A barrier keeps you from your goal. That is a card of having good boundaries as well, by the way. There are multiple challenges around your boundaries as you're part of your Crossroads energy. Some you're meant to be like, not for me, not going there, never going back again. And some you're going to be like, well, let's see if there's a healthy place for this in my life. Let's go one last time with the Soul Explorer, because everybody got a Soul Explorer, so I'm not going to leave you guys out. 1 and 2 and 3. What do we have for pile number 3? More is going to start happening. The energy that you need to hear is your Crossroads energy is make the healthy choice for your emotional well-being, not for the societal standards of what success is. And you'll keep going, you'll keep succeeding, things will keep expanding. And as you get healthier, your idea of what success does change. It does start encompassing like, well, what about me? What about doing what I want? Stuff doesn't keep us happy for long. Our idea that wealth is like the end-all be-all. I live in an area where I can see how that it's a Mobius strip of fear. The more somebody has, the more they're afraid of losing it. And then they start overvaluing money and undervaluing people, and then the world goes to you know where. Have courage. Awaken the warrior of light within you. A message is trying to reach you. Recognize despair as an opportunity. Within it, you will find the gift of awakening. Hey, listen, your emotions are always trying to teach you something about yourself. And sometimes, like, emotional purging gets rid of the repressed emotions so that you start with a clean slate. Group number 3, more success, careful with your choices around it. A potential romantic interest, potentially in the form of a former twin flame. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told absolutely every other pile. Don't go to pick a cards for your personal or your romantic relationship readings. It's usually the outcomes. You need a personal reading to get your real personal outcomes. And don't get too many. Don't live your life through it. The problem with twin flame connections is so many people are conducting their side of a relationship through readings, and it's like, well, that's unbalanced already. That's a non-reciprocal relationship, which doesn't mean the person doesn't care. It's just like they're not healthy enough to give back right now. So move on until they are, and keep yourself open for all possibilities in this world. But be careful around that. If you have a vulnerability, if you've ever had a twin flame connection, you have a vulnerability there, because twin flame connections all have one thing in common. They're unbalanced. Someone is giving and giving and giving, and someone is running and running and running. And so you have to remain in a balanced state in order to get the best outcomes for you. And it's not judging twin flame connections. It's just that I'm not a reader that focuses on romance. I'm a reader who focuses on healing and emotional growth and spiritual journeys. And if you're in my collective, you do too. And if you're hearing this and you're like, no, love is absolutely everything to me, with absolutely no judgment, I'm not the reader for you. I'm just not the reader for you. I focus on something different so that people can be on their life's purposeful path. And nobody's life's purpose is actually another person. It's always their own unique individual path that sometimes has great love involved in it as well. Take care, be well. That was your reading, pile number 3. If you want to book me for a private reading, @therisingmoon.com is the only way to book me. Live magically and be well.